So I'm going to show you how to create your mood board for task number 1. So we're going to make this in InDesign. You can see here this is the InDesign board, and this is where you can use this as a template if you like. It's attached to your sector cover page. This is the template I've used to create this mood board, which is kind of just a mock-up as if I was making one for my finished poster that's dark and romantic. So in order to create a page in InDesign, you want to first open the program, and then you're going to go File, New Document. I would suggest doing it in the same kind of proportions that I've got here. So A4 size in the page. I would turn it so that it's landscape, which is the second one there. In the bottom left-hand corner here, you can see it says Preview. If you have that checked, you can see the settings. And then I've got the intent for print. My gutter is 4.233 millimeters. The rest of the setup you can just copy if you pause the video. So I'll press OK. So that's the page setup that I want. In order to get these frames where I can drop my images, I'm going to go over to the left-hand column and pick up this tool which says Rectangle Frame Tool. What I can do is then hover my mouse over the purple border, and if I just click and drag out, I can make a rectangle. At this point, it's really important to make sure that your mouse is still clicked down. If you release, it'll turn it into the rectangle straight away. But what I want to do is make 4 equally spaced rectangles. So the way that I do it is drag it out, keep the mouse clicked down, and then just tap on the arrow key on my keyboard, and you can see I can make as many or as few as I want, and they'll be equally spaced. So I'm going to put those ones there, and now they're frames for me to be able to work with. Just going to check back and see what else I've got here, make it quite similar. I'm going to draw out another one here. It looks like I divided this one, I think, in 2. And then there's another big rectangle there. So this is not exactly the same, but it's kind of close. These purple lines that are hovering up, they're called smart guides. They just help you with your spacing as well. InDesign's really clever in the way that it does its spacing. It's kind of it's the way that the program that you would use for magazine layouts and things like that, portfolios. And I'm just going to use my arrow key again to separate these ones. So now I've got 3 here, and then finally I think I've just got some circles there. Actually, if you go back to your the one that you're working with, if I click down on my rectangle frame tool, I can go and select an ellipse tool, and I'm just going to hover over here and draw out an ellipse. Holding down my shift key will make it a perfect circle. And then what I can do is if I hold down the Option key on my keyboard, can you see that a little white mouse hovers behind my black one? And that basically is a shortcut to create multiple copies. So you can see that if I hold it down, it drags out more than one circle. Oops, just move that one so it's got the right spacing. Cool. Now if I want to space these so that they're in the middle of the page. So I'm going to hold down Shift and select all 4 at once, and I'm just going to drag them down until the line kind of comes up, that purple line that shows me there now in the center. And then what I'm going to do is start dropping images into these boxes. So I'm going to select all of them, so I'm just going to drag out a box with my black mouse over here selected in the toolbar, and now all of those frames are selected. I go up here, I press File, Place, and now I'm going to go to the folder where all of my images are stored. So you have to direct yourself here. This is why it's really important that you save your images from the internet into a folder, and that they're not screenshots, they're actually the saved images. If they're screenshots, they'll be too pixelated. What I'm going to do is, a shortcut is Command A. Oops, Command A. Make sure that's selected. Yeah, Command A. That's right. Because that selects all, so that A is short for all. So I'm going to press Open, and then you'll see they come up on my screen. They're all stored behind this one, and if I just go and click in each of those frames, it drops the image in, which is a really cool feature. I'm just going to go pop them in where I want them, and then I can click over here and the full image will come up if I keep clicking. Well, I've got quite a few here that I haven't actually used. Cool. So I could go back and play with those if I wanted. Now, what I'm going to do is some of these images in here, you can see they're not the whole image. So this one, for example, it doesn't look very good in this rectangular frame because the frame's so long and skinny and the image is actually a square. So if I just press in that middle circle that shows up, I get the orange border of that picture. I'm going to press delete, and that will delete the photo. I'm going to go back and place a different image in there. So again, file, place, and then I'm just going to have a little scroll through one that's a little bit more perhaps longer and rectangular. Maybe something like that. Press open, and there you go. Now for some of these, this one here, for example, this is actually a bowl of figs, but these figs look a little bit pixelated because they've gone too small. So once again, I'm going to click on this, and you can see here the orange frame comes up. Now if I just use my trackpad or your mouse, I can make this as small and large as I want. Alternatively, I can double click or right click and go down to fitting and go fill frame proportionally. And that way it's going to fill the image as best as possible. I actually quite like it being a close-up of the figs, so I'm going to move it there. These other ones, I think they should be, you should be able to see more of the image. So some of these, I'm going to go fill frame proportionally, and then I get a little bit more of the image in there, which better reflects my mood board. So I'm just double clicking or right clicking when I do that. Great. So now I've got all my images placed in here, and it's starting to look a little bit more like this one. It's not exactly the same, but it's close. Something else I can do to check how it's all looking with the framing, if with my black mouse I click in the grey background and then tap W on my keyboard, it's a shortcut to preview it with how it would actually look. So you can see now all those images that are lying around the side of the page, they actually wouldn't come out when we export this to a PDF. So that's a great feature as well, that you can have a look at what you're doing. The next thing I want to do is show you how to work with some text. So I've made this frame here, which is the same size as my other image spots, but this time I want to do some writing in there. So I'm going to go over here to the type tool and click it, and then click into that box, and it will come up with a cursor over here. I'm going to type dark romantic, but that font doesn't really match my mood board, so I'm going to go have a look and find something else. This one's pretty good, dark and romantic. And now over up the top here, I can change my size. All my type tool features are up here. So I'm going to go, in fact, I can just click that. Maybe let's try 63. Yep, that's pretty good. And I want it, like this one, to be one on top of the other. I'm going to change that D. I'm going to go back and click on this frame so that it's got the little white boxes around the outside. That way I can resize it. And I want to make it so that the word romantic comes on the next line. Oops, at the moment. There we go. Should be able to, just doing a bit of trial and error. There we go. Now, that's actually looking okay, but that distance there between the top line and the bottom line is quite large, and it means the top of the letters go over into the image, and I don't really want that. So I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to go over here, which is my leading tool, and that determines the distance between the lines, and I'm going to bring that down, and you can see it removes the words closer together. So I'm quite happy with that. Finally, to make it fit better, just the same that you can do with your images, if I right click, I can go fit frame to content, and it's going to change the frame to fit it perfectly, and then I can move it so that it's got equal spacing at the top and the bottom, which is pleasing to the eye. So once again, press W, and there I can have a look at it like that. Finally, I want to have a play around with some colours. So I'm going to fill these circles here with my colour palette that I intend for my botanical poster, my natural world chart. So what I would like to do is actually choose a colour palette that's derived from the images that I've chosen. So we can use this great tool called the eyedropper tool, which is over here, and I can actually go and select colours from the images. So if I click that blue background, it's going to fill my circle here. In order to make sure that it fills the circle and not the outline, over in this panel, it's a little bit small, but you have to make sure that that square box that's navy blue is sitting on top of the one that's the outline. If it's not, it means it will always fill the outline one first. To bring it to the front, you just click on it and it will come up and be on the top. I actually want to give this image an outline though. As you can see here, it makes it look like it has a border. So what I'm going to do is go back and get my black mouse and click on that. And over here, I'm going to play with the outline. So if I just go and select paper, you can see it's given it a little bit of an outline, but I want to make that thicker. So I'm going to go back here and I can change it over in this function up the top. So I'm just going to do it until it looks about right. Maybe one less. Cool. So that's 9 point. I'm going to go and make these 3 circles the same as the blue one. So if I have that circle selected and use my eyedropper to click on it, it's going to give it the same outline and the same fill. I'm going to do it here as well. And now we've got 4 that are the same colour, and that makes it easy to go and change the inside colour. Just again, can you see at this stage, my stroke is on top. So I'll show you what happens when that's on top. If I go and grab this yellow, it's going to change the colour of the stroke, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to use those little arrows there to swap fill and stroke. Oops, sorry. I'm going to click the fill so that it's sitting on top. So now when I go and grab that yellow colour, oops, let's just make that paper. And then let's grab the eyedropper tool and make sure the blue's on top. There we go. Back again and grab the next one. I'm going to make this a nice reddy colour. Oh, that's probably a bit too red. Let's grab it again. There we go. And lastly, let's make this one a green because I can see that in here. All right, so if we have a quick look, press W, now it's really starting to come along. Finally, I'm going to change the colour of my text as well. So if I highlight the text, I can use the eyedropper again to get the same colour. So I'm going to make it that yellow. Click off. Oops, where'd it go? Oh, I think it turned it into the white. So all I want to do is just make sure that these are swapped. There we go. And I'm going to, I think what it's done is it's given it an outline that's as thick as these circles here. So let's just make sure that that outline, we don't have any outline and it's just fill, and we want the fill to be that same colour here. There we go. Now finally, as you can see on this one here, I've got this big letter A. So I just made that with the text tool. I clicked in here, drew out a text box, sorry, clicked in there and just did a fancy A. And then I went and highlighted it and used the eyedropper. So it even changes the size. And now I'm going to make that a really big size. Let's try 80. Oops, that's not very big. Let's try 170. It's disappeared because it doesn't fit in the frame. So I'm just going to draw this frame out for a bit to see how big it is. We want it even better. 230. Maybe even 250. Cool. I can go and make it bold as well. Here's my font. I can go and change it to bold. That's pretty good. I'm going to drag it over here. And at the moment, what I can see is that it's sitting above everything else. So I think what I might do is have it so that it sits on top of the images. Just drag it out a little bit. Maybe one bigger size actually. I'm going to have it so it sits on top of the images, but behind those, behind the colour palette. Because if I'm having a look at it at the moment, I think it's a bit busy over the top of the colour palette. So I'm happy that it's sitting above the image. What I'm going to go and do is select this circle. I want this circle to sit on top of the and sign. So if I go up to Object, Arrange, bring to front, bring to front, it will sit on top of the and. And then I can kind of have a play around where I want everything. I'd like to justify this to the left, so I can do that over here. That's starting to work a little bit better. And then I want to add some text in the bottom, because this is where you want to have your name, or somewhere you want to have your name. So I'm just going to type in this Sandover. And I would probably go and change all the features of that one to the same font that we used before. I think it was something down here. That's it. We could go and play around with that later. So at the moment, that mood board's looking pretty close to good. It's not quite the same as this one, but you get the general feel, and that's because of the images that I've chosen and the colour scheme that I've used. I'm really starting to get a strong idea of the direction I want to go in with my natural world chart. So finally what we need to do is save this. So you want to save it as an InDesign file. So do File, Save As, and put it into your folder, wherever that might be. I'm just going to do Tutorial. And down here it says Format InDesign. Just press Save, and then when this dialog box comes up, oh, no, hasn't come up yet. We're going to save another copy. This is the PDF version that you will submit to me. And this is, you only create the PDF version when you're very finished with your InDesign mood board. So this would be just before submission. So you may need to come back to this tutorial to work that out. To do that, you go File, Export. You're going to go down to the format and make sure it says Adobe PDF Print, and then press Save. And then when this dialog box comes up, you just want to keep everything the same that's already there. And just press Export. And then what it should do is pop up for you so that you can preview it. And here is my finished mood board. So we'll just close that one down. And that's it, girls. Good luck.